Good morning, children. Today we are going to start a new chapter, Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening. This poem is written by Robert Frost. He was an American poet. He was born in California and attended Lawrence High School in 1894. He published his first poem, My Butterfly, an elegy to New York Independent. He wrote many collections of poetry, including A Boy's Will and North of Boston. He worked as a farmer and a teacher for major part of his life. He won 4 Pulitzer Prizes for poetry. He died on 29 January 1963. Stopping by Wood on a Snowy Evening was written by Robert Frost in 1922. The poem describes a tranquil forest scene from the perspective of the narrator, who is riding through the woods with his horse. It is written in iambic tetrameter. Now let's read the poem first. Whose woods these are? I think I know. His house is in the village, though. He will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. My little horse must think it queer to stop without a farmhouse near. Between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year, he gives his harness bells a shake to ask if there is some mistake. The only other sounds the sweep of easy winds and downy flake. The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep and miles to go before I sleep. And miles to go before I sleep. Now let's see the summary of the poem. In this poem, the speaker is driving some kind of horse-drawn vehicle, perhaps a carriage or maybe even a sleigh, through the woods. He believes that he knows to whom this forest belongs to, but that man lives in the village. The speaker knows, therefore, that the owner will not even know that the speaker has stopped to watch the snowfall here. The speaker stops his horse outside a wood in the snow on the darkest evening of the year. Hearing his horse's bells shake, the speaker imagines that the animal wants to keep going. Perhaps the driver delivers some kind of goods, as he claims that his horse probably thinks it is strange for them to stop out in the middle of nowhere rather than at a house, spatially, because it is so dark and cold. It is in fact the darkest night of the year. And from this, the reader can ascertain that it is the night of the winter in late December. The horse shakes its harness, jingling its bell as if to ask if the driver has made some kind of mistake in stopping. Aside from the ringing of the bells, the wind softly blowing the downy flakes of snow is the only other sound. And clearly, this would be a very, very quiet sound. It is nearly silent in these woods. In the end, the speaker seems to express a strong desire to stay in the dark, tranquil, and silent forest. But he evidently feels compelled to keep moving because he has some kind of promise that he needs to keep. We don't know if he has more stops he must make, perhaps, or if he is expected to reach a certain place tonight. Whatever it is, this promise means that he must continue to travel a great deal further before he is able to stop and to truly rest. The fact that the speaker repeats this final idea, that he has a long way to go before he can sleep, seems to indicate a good deal of regret that this is the case. The opening stanza identifies the setting as woods in the winter. The speaker is aware of the owner of the woods, knowing that he will not mind if he spends a moment to watch the snowfall. The second stanza mentions that his horse must wonder about his choice of stopping on a frozen lake on such a cold, dark evening. In the third stanza, the horse shakes its harness, ringing its bells, breaking the silence. The only other sound is that of the wind and and snowfall. In the final stanza, the speaker admits his love of the beauty around him, but realizes he must depart because of another obligation. And the final lines repeat, "And miles to go before I sleep," suggesting both a long journey and the drowsiness of sleep. As with many poems, Frost's classic has a deeper meaning. The dark wood seems to symbolize death, and the speaker has an attraction to it. However, the miles to go in a different directions symbolizes the continuation of life, a journey that the speaker must nevertheless continue. Now let's see the literary devices present in this poem. This poem uses imagery, language that conveys sensory informations in order to help us understand how solitary the speaker is and how dark and beautiful the woods are. The second stanza is most concerned with visual imagery, things we can see. There is no farmhouse near, and the speaker has stopped to rest between the woods and frozen lake on this, the darkest evening of the year. It is very easy for us to visualize his location with the help of these images. The third stanza is most concerned with auditory imagery, things we can hear. We can imagine the sound when the horse gives his harness bells a shake, as well as the near silence of soft blowing breeze in the sweep of easy wind and downy flake. The words downy flake work as a visual image too. We can imagine this kind of snow that is fluffy and drifts slowly to the ground. Some readers also interpret sleep as a metaphor for death in the final two lines, which repeat, "And miles to go before I sleep." In this, the speaker's solitary journey through the woods, the miles he goes, becomes a metaphor for life, for all the work we must do before we can go to our final rest. Personification of the horse in the second and third stanza, to attribute the abilities to think it queer, to stop in such a solitary spot and to shake his harness bell, to ask if there is some mistake, qualifies as personification, which is when the poet gives human characteristics or abilities to something non human. Frost uses alliteration in this poem, which is repeating the same consonant at the beginning of words in close proximity. Examples of this include sounds the sweep in stanza 2, which with its repeated S sound, and the D sound in dark and deep, and the beginning of the stanza 3. The poet personifies the horse, assigning to it human thought processes, such as thinking it is odd or queer that they are stopping for so long. He also seems to ask the poet if it a mistake they are standing so long in the woods.